New plush alert, new plush alert. That's right, folks. Official Funko Sun and Moon plushies are here, and I'm sure a lot of us are over the moon to see them. A lot of us were really looking forward to these characters getting the Funko plush treatment, but were they really worth the wait? And would I recommend y'all pick them up? Well, let's dig in and find out. So, let's start things off at the bright side by taking a look at Sun. So initial thoughts is that this guy is well executed and seemingly accurate to Sun's in-game appearance as well. From memory, that is. We're gonna have to dig deep and see if that statement holds true or not. Up first, we've got the 6 spiky sun rays on top, and they're actually using the shiny metallic material that Funko is notable for using on their FNAF plushies. Most notably with Phantom Foxy and Candy Cadet, which is just this metallic material galore. Although this material does not feel plush-like at all, I do appreciate it because it helps give their plushies a much more shiny metallic look, which I think's fitting for a character who's bright such as Sun. But as you should come to expect, as this is a Funko plushie, not no Sanchi or Youtooz, the sun rays are just cheap flat pieces. At first glance, the face here looks very good and looks just like Sun, but let's take a closer look. First little detail which I appreciate them adding on are the little spots located throughout this face. However, they have missed a couple around these areas. Wouldn't have taken much effort to plot those on. Another feature I really appreciate them adding on here are the little details around the eyes. Guess you could see them as an eyebrow and some eyelashes, but they're really like holes, so I do wish that instead of the yellow embroidery around it, should have gone for black, would have created that gaping hole effect. Only other minor nitpick I've got for the face here comes at the teeth here. All you had to do is add in a little line in here, make them look a bit more natural, you know? However, the very unfortunate thing is that scratchy eye material returns. Oh, you know the one that caused the unfortunate fate of the security breach plushies was Phantom Balloon Boy. Just like pretty much everybody else, I'm not a fan of this material. Not only does it just make the plush look and feel cheaper, even on the display point of view it still makes it look less nice. But what I especially hate, you could probably already pick up bits on it, is that any form of particles, any dirt or anything will fuse to this thing and they are so irritating to pluck out of it. So this half of the face is entirely that scratchy material, and unfortunately, the entire back of the head is. Thankfully though, the rest of the face is just fine. Everything looks spot on with his nice cheeks, and of course his just pale, Herobrine type shit pupils right there. Pretty swell. But overall, face is totally cool beans. Then we move on to his body, which looks quite small. Kind of gives him that chibi sort of look, considering the fact that his head is like bigger than his entire body, when in the game his head is like a third of the size of his damn body. So his body does look pretty good overall, but there's just some silly wee mistakes made, such as these buttons here, not sure why they're yellow, it should be red. So is Funko with their silly color errors, and also, kind of a big one, I mean it would seem a little correct, but it's actually not, is his icon here on the shoes. They've put him as a sun, but even on Sun, even then, they still are moon icons. And of course, they're working on a budget, so they had to go the cheap route in some things, such as here. This is meant to be the ribbon. Looks more like, you know, the ribbon has the bell attached. Looks more like a wristband now. I didn't include the bells. Even they could have just got these little baubles from the tip of the shoes. Glad they include those, though. Could have just put more here. Would have been passable, I suppose. But this little, I guess, neckband, I'll call it, and the tutu are just cheap pieces of paper. And I'm not sure why there's a random gap in the tutu here. It looks a little odd. But overall, it's not bad. It's, of course, using pretty cheap sort of material. Not sure what you'd call it, but it looks pretty good. Appreciate the stripes and everything, all the little details in there. So it's pretty good. And here's a back view. Not more to add here. Oh yes, and of course, tags are what you'd expect. Same tags as the Security Breach plush re-releases. But of course, Funko's been doing free cardboard tags as of recently. Pretty cool. And of course, they've done away with the additional touch tag. It's just one piece now. So overall, not bad at all. I'd give him like a solid 7 out of 10. He really is just a good Sun plush, bit on a budget. Up next, things are gonna get spookier as you turn the lights out with Moon. So up top now, instead of sun rays, we've got his nightcap, which I appreciate all of the nice star details on, all throughout. And of course, it's got that sort of cheap material again, and good grief, this thing is far too massive. God damn, Moon, you're not a elf. But good grief, this looks sort of horrendous. God damn, Funko, I know you're all about cutting corners, so why not make this shorter? Not only would it save you money, but it's also more accurate. This thing is far too big. At least you can kind of just bend it down easily because it's not stuffed or anything, so you can just have it launched down, and it definitely does look better. And now for the face, honestly, I think it's really nice. Of course, everything is all flat and embroidered again. You still have some of the same falls carrying over, such as the right side of the face, the black side, being entirely that scratchy material, which I kind of hate to see. But honestly, I definitely think I prefer this face to Sun's. It just looks so much more detailed and nicer. I love how they went for the black outlines on the eye in this piece here. And of course, you got the inner eye detail because that's what Moon's got. I'm also really glad that they remembered to ensure that the teeth and the cheeks turn black as well as the face becomes black. And I love the little outlines they did so that you can see that they're there. And really, other faults, just carry them over from Sun, such as the lack of the line in the teeth here. And a couple of those extra spots would have been neat. And the body, again, looks quite nice, but of course on a tight budget. And funny I say, take all the faults pretty much from the Sun's body and apply them here again. Because the Sun and Moon plushies actually share a lot of similarities. And hey, nothing wrong with that, that's what the characters pretty much are. But it does sure as hell explain that newest Funko FNAF plushie. Although of course the exact same sculpt, I appreciate them making of course all the changes so that the bodies are different and accurate to the characters. So of course, Moon's got the different designs for his little trousers here, and they switched out the icon on here. But of course, you've still got those same things, such as that cheap paper material for his little tutu and whatnot, and that same cutoff point, we're just not sure what that's about. Oh yeah, and did I mention there is, of course, a good bit of printing on here too, such as pretty much all the arm here, the buttons, and the Moon icon here. Oh yes, and here's a back shot holding by his long-ass unnecessary hat so my hand isn't covering. Oh yes, and the tags, exact same stuff. And there's a deep dive into the brand new Funko Sun and Moon plushie. So overall, they're pretty good. I give them like a solid 7 out of 10, pretty much each, because they are quite close to each other. I'd say definitely recommend picking these up as a cheaper alternative, but as you may be aware, there is a much more, I suppose, premium and expensive Sun and Moon plushie. Introducing Youtooz's Sun and Moon. Which one is better? Well, for one, a very interesting decision I know a lot of people weren't very fond of for this plush is actually both of them were combined into one. Now that is a pretty dapper and wise decision since they're such similar characters, but it does of course unfortunately mean you can't display both of them at once. So if you look at the face, I think you can immediately identify that this is the much more expensive premium choice. I mean, I know this comes in the Security Breach Collector's Edition, so I guess it technically is over $100, but you get, you know, loads of stuff in there. So this really accounts for $30 of the value, because that's what Youtooz FNAF plushies always cost. So in terms of pricing, you're really comparing 10 to a 30, so is this 3 times as good? Well, you'll notice in the face that Youtooz is much more definitive than quality. I appreciate the puffing out cheek pieces. Just the embroidery is so much nicer and you don't get real cheap material here. But something very stylistic that Youtooz always does and you gotta get used to is the eyes. They always do these little arch eyes. That's Youtooz's brand, that's their icon. So it does, I guess, hinder its accuracy, but it is a stylistic choice. Needless to say, I also think the body does look much better in Youtooz's again. I appreciate the colors. They have the tutu and whatnot. Looks so much better, much higher quality. They even added the bells, which is awesome. But it might be a little irritating in this video here. You just hear them constantly. But there's loads of just subtle little details that I love to see. Like even little shoulder pads, which is awesome. And then with Moon here. Now, honestly, I think that Funko's face area is actually better because it allows for much, since this uses the arch eyes, you can plot on the little interior eye details. And also, it looks so awkward with the sun rays. Of course, they got it because it's with sun, but it just makes Moon look really odd. And also, the cap, because it splits off, it can't really, it's just a tiny little piece. Honestly, even though this does use higher quality materials, I honestly think Funko's is for the win. This honestly barely looks like Moon's face. But in terms of the body, I'm probably gonna have to go with Youtooz's again. I think it's a no-brainer. Look at that. He's even got fingers here. Isn't that just awesome? But yep, Tutu looking so much better. All the little details. Love to see it. Now, I would say if you're looking for a real good quality and more expensive alternative, you should definitely go for Youtooz, but unfortunately, the only way you can get this is through the Security Breach Collector's Edition. And if you don't want to spend that much, you're going to have to look online and try and get this guy, someone who's willing to split it and sell this on its own. So it could be pretty tough, and also the whole fact that this is 2-in-1. Now, Youtooz is coming out with brand new Sun and Moon plushies, which are separate, but honestly, I don't think they're very good. So honestly, I would definitely recommend picking these guys up. They're cheap, they're very affordable, and they get the job done. Although cheaper, they're pretty good.
Yo, Dr. I hear you rhyme hard. To me it's mediocre, just a little subpar. I give you some credit, your traps always be catching me. It's no wonder you're smart enough to have a PhD.